All right, let's dive into one of the most powerful and, let's be honest, most controversial organizations on the entire planet, the United Nations Security Council. It's a name you hear thrown around all the time in the news, but what does it actually do? And more importantly, who really holds the power?
And this question really gets right to the heart of it all. The Security Council was set up, in theory, to be the world's crisis manager. It has this unique authority to make decisions that could literally mean the difference between war and peace for millions of people.
But to really get to the Security Council, you've got to zoom out of it. We have to start with its parent organization, the United Nations. The UN was basically born from the ashes of World War II with a goal that was, well, absolutely monumental. The whole idea was to prevent another massive global conflict from ever happening again. Now, the UN has a bunch of different parts, like the General Assembly and the World Court, but one specific group was designed to have some real teeth, to have some serious power to enforce that mission.
And that, of course, brings us to the Security Council. Think of it like the UN's executive board, its power center. So what makes it so different? Well, its decisions, they call them resolutions, are legally binding for all 193 member countries. When the Council speaks, the world is supposed to listen. Period.
So, who's actually in this room where it all happens? Well, first up, you have 10 non-permanent members. These are countries that get elected for 2-year terms, and they're meant to represent different regions of the world. Their voices are important, for sure, but the ultimate power? Well, that's a different story.
That belongs to these 5, the permanent 5 members. You'll hear them called the P5. And these countries, they have a special status that completely shapes every single decision the Council makes.
So you're probably asking, why these 5 countries? Well, it's basically a snapshot of history from 1945. They were the major Allied powers who won World War II, and when they designed the UN, they basically gave themselves the final say on global security. The thinking was, if you want to make sure the big powers stay on board, you have to give them a trump card. And that trump card comes in the form of one very, very controversial power.
The veto. This one word is arguably the most powerful tool in all of international diplomacy. It means that any one of these P5 members can single-handedly stop a major resolution in its tracks. Doesn't matter how much support it has from the rest of the world.
Let's just look at how stark this is. You could have 14 out of the 15 countries on the Council vote yes. Overwhelming support, right? But if just one of those 5 permanent members votes no, the whole thing is dead. That's it. That's the absolute power of the veto.
And believe me, this isn't just some theoretical power they have. It gets used, and it has shaped the outcomes of some of the biggest crises of our time. For instance, Russia and China have repeatedly used their veto on actions related to the war in Syria. The US has used its veto many times on resolutions critical of Israel. And of course, more recently, Russia has vetoed actions about the war in Ukraine.
And this is where all the criticism comes in, right? It essentially allows the national interests of just 5 countries to completely override what the rest of the world wants. Critics say it paralyzes the Council, it blocks vital humanitarian aid, and it's why you hear these constant calls to reform the Security Council, to make it actually look like the world of today, not the world of 1945.
Okay, so even with all the gridlock the veto can cause, there are times when the Council does agree to act. And when that happens, one of its most visible, most important tools is peacekeeping. This is where the high-level politics in New York become on-the-ground reality.
You've probably seen them, the blue helmets. Now here's a super important point. The UN doesn't have its own army, not at all. These soldiers, police officers, and civilian experts are all contributed voluntarily by member countries.
And their jobs are just unbelievably complex. I mean, they're not just standing around observing. They're doing everything from monitoring fragile ceasefires and protecting civilians caught in the crossfire to helping organize elections and making sure humanitarian aid can get through safely. Now here's something interesting. You might think the P5 countries, the ones with all the political power, are the ones sending the most troops. But that's usually not the case. The real muscle for these missions often comes from other nations. And to see what that commitment looks like, let's just take one prime example, India.
Just take a second to look at that number. Over 250,000. That's how many Indian troops have served in more than 49 UN missions since the 1940s. We're talking about a massive, decades-long commitment to global peace, putting their people on the front lines all over the world.
And India's contribution has also been totally groundbreaking. Back in 2007, they sent the first ever all-women police unit to a mission in Liberia, and this unit was incredible. They were praised not just for restoring order, but for inspiring Liberian women to join their own security forces. I mean, talk about a powerful ripple effect.
So when you look at the whole picture, the scale is just immense. We're talking infantry, medical teams, engineers, police officers, you name it. But this incredible commitment also comes at a very real, very high cost. Over 175 Indian peacekeepers have made the ultimate sacrifice in the service of global peace. So, where does that leave us? The Security Council is just full of these deep contradictions. The veto power can cause total gridlock, yet its peacekeeping missions absolutely save lives. It's a structure that was born in the world of 1945, but it's trying to solve the problems of today. So what do you think? Is it a flawed guardian, or is it a necessary, if really imperfect tool for our very divided planet? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me.